I'm Josh Fitzpatrick, and this is Faith in 50. I love in chapter 9 of book of Mark, verse 35, Jesus sits down with his disciples, and he says, what were you arguing about while we were walking on the road back there? And nobody says anything because they're afraid to tell him that they were arguing about who was the greatest. But even though they didn't tell him, Jesus still sits down and says, anyone who wants to be first must be the very last and the servant of all. They didn't tell him what they were talking about, but Jesus knew all along. And I think God does this to us, where God knows our faults, God knows where we mess up, and yet he invites us to confess, to tell him, to admit with our own mouth where we need help. And when we do, we receive that advice, we receive that guidance straight from Scripture, straight from the mouth of God. Turn to God today, confess, and receive God's forgiveness.